Imagine an empire forged in iron, ruled by kings who literally carved their conquests into stone, and known for these incredible palaces guarded by mythical creatures. That was Assyria. For centuries, that name alone struck both terror and awe across the ancient world. So yeah, let's get into this.
And listen to this. This isn't something their enemies made up about them. That's a direct quote from one of Assyria's most famous kings, Ashurbanipal, actually bragging about a victory. It's a chilling way to introduce the brutal efficiency that really defined this empire. But believe it or not, that's just one side of the coin.
And that's the big puzzle here, right? How could an empire so steeped in savagery also be a hotbed for monumental art, incredible architecture, and real innovation? To figure this out, we gotta go way back to the beginning.
So, picture modern-day Iraq. That's where this all starts. From their earliest days, the Assyrians were basically a nation of warriors. Their homeland was right out on the open Mesopotamian plain, which meant they were always defending themselves. And over hundreds of years, they turned that need for defense into an absolutely unmatched talent for offense.
You see, the Assyrians didn't just conquer people. They perfected the entire art of conquest. Their army wasn't just an army. It was a sophisticated, state-of-the-art war machine, the likes of which the ancient world had never, ever seen before.
I mean, these guys completely revolutionized military science. They were masters of siege warfare, building these massive battering rams and movable towers. They had sappers, specialized engineers, who would literally tunnel under city walls to make them collapse. And crucially, they were one of the first major powers to fully equip their armies with iron weapons and armor, giving them a huge advantage over their neighbors who were still using bronze.
But their most powerful weapon might not have been made of iron at all. It was a strategy of pure psychological terror. A king named Tiglath-Pileser II really pioneered it. The Assyrians would practice mass deportations on a scale nobody had ever seen. They would uproot entire populations, we're talking tens, even hundreds of thousands of people, and just move them across the empire, completely shattering their sense of identity and their will to ever rebel again.
And get this, they made sure everyone knew how cruel they could be. Kings like Ashurnasirpal II didn't just do these things. They had detailed descriptions and images of them carved right onto the walls of their palaces for every visitor to see. This wasn't just random violence. This was calculated policy. Fear was a tool of the empire.
So, while the Assyrian army was out there projecting power on the battlefield, back home, their art and architecture were doing the exact same thing. And you see this nowhere more clearly than at the gates of their magnificent palaces.
So, meet the Lamassu. Imagine walking up to a royal palace and seeing these things. These colossal stone guardians were placed at the entrances to palaces and cities. Part human, part bull, part eagle, they were these powerful symbols of the king's divine power and protection, and they were absolutely designed to inspire awe in anyone who came near.
And this is where their artistic genius really shines through. The Lamassu were actually sculpted with 5 legs. Now, why would they do that? Well, here's the cool part. When you look at it from the front, it looks totally solid and still, like a formidable guard. But as you walk past it and see it from the side, it suddenly looks like it's in motion, striding right along with you. It's an incredibly clever bit of artistic engineering. And they weren't all just about raw intimidation. The Lamassu from the palace of King Sargon II were carved with something you wouldn't expect, a smile. I mean, think about that. This wasn't just the art of a brutal, insecure empire. It was the art of a confident one, a culture that had really hit its peak of refinement and self-assurance.
But that peak, well, it wouldn't last. The very tactics that built the Assyrian Empire had planted the seeds of its own destruction. For centuries, it seemed absolutely invincible. And then in what felt like the blink of an eye, it was all over.
The end came with just shocking speed. Just look at this timeline. In 625 BCE, they lose control of Babylonia. A little over a decade later, their ancient religious capital, Ashur, is sacked. And then just 2 years after that, Nineveh, at the time the greatest city in the world, home to a legendary library, is burned to the ground.
So who brought them down? A coalition of the very people they had spent centuries terrorizing. The Babylonians from the south and the Medes from the east finally united, fueled by generations of hatred and a powerful desire for revenge. The empire that was built on fear was, in the end, completely consumed by it.
So, with their great cities in ruins and the empire gone, what's left? What is the real legacy of Assyria? Well, it's found in that central paradox we talked about at the very beginning.
On one hand, you have this unimaginable brutality. constant conquest, torture, and psychological warfare as a matter of state policy. And on the other hand, you have this breathtaking brilliance, monumental art like the Lamassu, incredible innovations in engineering, and a total revolution in military science. In fact, their administrative systems and military tactics became a blueprint for later empires, from the Persians all the way to the Romans.
Which leaves us with this final thought. The Assyrians built their world with iron and terror, no doubt about it. But they're remembered today for their art, their innovations, and the sheer undeniable power they projected. It really forces us to ask, is a legacy of brilliance ever enough to outweigh a history of brutality? It's definitely something to think about.